we work really hard to establish those employer partnerships that hopefully eliminate the job search process for our students. So they're not just a grind of applying for tons of jobs each week. A resume only says so much about somebody, and to have them write tons of cover letters. And so part of what I do, I coach the students. It's all storytelling. How do you sell whatever you were doing in your previous career? How do you sell those transferable skills and not devalue whatever you were doing before? Usually it's complementary. And so we work really hard to sell those skill sets and hopefully eliminate that job search process and really do the resume sending on behalf of the students to land them interviews so that they don't have to go through that. So I think it's about illuminating those skills for individuals to bolster their confidence, which, as you all know, goes a very long way in your job search. When you feel confident, you exude confidence, and then employers are much more likely to hire you. I say, don't throw out your old experience. It's never irrelevant if you've thrown yourself into it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Who You Know Show podcast, where what you know is important, but who you know can make all the difference in your business, career, relationships, and life. My name is Trevor Houston, and on this show, you'll learn the strategy, grit, and mindset it takes to overcome obstacles so you can level up in your career, recover your cash flow, and live the life of purpose that God intended for you. Don't forget to look at the mic drop moments time-stamped in the show notes below. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure to pay it forward, subscribe, and leave an honest review so we can improve. Thanks for listening. My name is Trevor Houston, and please enjoy this episode of the Who You Know Show.
We got Caitlin Potter in the house. She owns her own career consulting business on the side where she helps her clients transition into jobs they love. Tell us a little bit about Codeup. What's the program? What do you do? What you got going on? All that good stuff.
Absolutely. So Codeup, like you mentioned, we're a career accelerator. It's a 22-week program. So our students are career changers. So anybody from graduating high school all the way through lived several lives and careers and maybe are now looking to pivot. So we have older students as well, a really, really broad demographic. So our students are going through 22 weeks of really intensive training, Monday through Friday. They all code and work in the evenings and on the weekends as well. And when they graduate, we help place them into jobs as web developers or data scientists.
Oh, okay. So 22-week, like how many hours a day, or like is it pretty intense?
Yeah, very intense. So they're in class with us 9 to 5 every day. Most of them log on before that, and many of them stay after that, study sessions. And continue coding. So definitely have to put in a little bit more than just the 9 to 5 to be successful. But our students work incredibly hard for 5 months to really throw themselves all in on a new career. So
And the market is really, really good for both of those skill sets.
it is. Yeah, it is. It's a really great time, especially, COVID-19 has made a lot of our lives harder, but it's actually been really great in terms of job opportunities because now a lot of companies are open to being remote where they weren't before. So it's opened a lot of doors for our students that maybe weren't previously open due to, location and relocation.
Right.
Are you having an exodus of people, like as far as them landing? We had a ton of people that we announced got landed. I imagine for good coders, they're getting snatched up quick.
Yeah, so last quarter, we actually have a fun demographic. A few of us have been using as our Zoom backgrounds at work. We got 40 students that were placed into jobs last quarter, which is really incredible.
Nice.
A lot of people have felt a little hesitant about what the market has been like, but we've just been seeing students land, when they put in the effort and are willing to go in on the job change. The market is rewarding them with really great work. So.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
do you have partnerships or alliances with different employers so that once they get through the program, how does that work?
Yeah, we do. We have a whole employer partner network. So Codeup is based in San Antonio, and that's where we're headquartered. But we recently opened our Dallas campus back in December. And so even prior to actually working for Codeup this summer, I was friendly with them. I had hired a couple of graduates for the last business I worked for. I used to work for a web development agency. We had hired a couple of Codeup graduates as web developers. And so I was familiar with their team. And so I kind of helped them get their legs in Dallas and have been helping them reach out to different employer partners. But yeah, companies like, USAA is a partner down in San Antonio. Thankfully, that carries up to the Dallas area.
Yeah.
So lots of employer partnerships that really help us, all the way from small businesses all the way up to big businesses like USAA. Really, it helps us be able to kind of hopefully eliminate the job search process for our students, right? Anything we can do to make that a little bit easier so they're not just a grind of applying for tons of jobs each week. we work really hard to establish those employer partnerships, also so that they know the merit, right? A resume only says so much about somebody, and to have them write tons of cover letters.
The resume only says so much.
It does. And so part of what I do as the director of delivery, and I'm the professional development coordinator, I coach the students, right? It's all storytelling. How do you sell whatever you were doing in your previous career? How do you sell those transferable skills and not devalue whatever you were doing before? Usually it's complementary. And so we work really hard to sell those skill sets and hopefully eliminate that job search process and really do the resume sending on behalf of the students to land them interviews so that they don't have to go through that.
You said it. The job search is sales. You got to sell it, right?
It is. It very much is.
It's sales.
It is.
Another thing that you said that stuck out is that your past experience, whether it was related or not, is not negative. It actually complements. And so think about like when you're in college, right? And you're trying to get into med school or law school or things like that. They're looking for people with diverse degrees, right? They don't want they don't want just the pre-med biology major. Like if you have a different major, they want well-rounded people. So
absolutely. Yeah.
same thing.
I never worked in technology. I used to be a claims adjuster. So I used to be the person who climbed your roof and evaluated your hail damage. And
she's up on the roof.
If your house blew away in tornado, I would have to come out, or if it burned down, that was me. I would come and write an estimate for everything you owned to replace it. And when I job searched, it took me about a year. This is the beginning of my career and how I ended up in Dallas. I was a claims adjuster. And my whole process was just to sit down and start looking at other jobs and saying, what skills are transferable, right? I'm analyzing policy. I'm communicating technical concepts. I am breaking things down in layman's terms. I don't know if any of you have ever looked at your homeowner's policy. It's a lot of gibberish. So you have to do a lot of gibberish and explaining to people why the thing they really want to be covered is not covered. And so that takes a ton of, communication skills, customer service. So I had to go down that list and start to say, okay, what other employers would find this valuable? And I ended up in technical recruiting. It was a lot of that customer service, coaching type stuff. And it ended up being a great fit. But that's part of my job I really love is helping people understand, because a lot of our students come to us, whether they've been in the military or a teacher, or maybe they've just worked at a restaurant. They're like, I don't have any other skills an employer would find valuable. Okay, you worked in a restaurant. So customer service, you were managing money in a register. Those are all valuable skill sets. They show responsibility. They show communication skills. So I think it's about illuminating those skills for individuals to bolster their confidence, which, as you all know, goes a very long way in your job search. When you feel confident, you exude confidence, and then employers are much more likely to hire you because they feel like you're confident and would provide value.
You have to tell it, right? It's like we all have a story. And it's just finding that voice.
Definitely.
Right? So listeners, right, you have your story. Find your voice. You can tell the story, but you have to tell it well.
Absolutely.
Where were you before Dallas?
So I was originally born in and raised in Rhode Island. So I'm an East Coaster myself.
You're a Rhode Islander?
Yeah, I know. Usually when I meet people, they say, I've never met anyone from Rhode Island before. I went to school out on the East Coast, and then it was my insurance job that relocated me. I used to work for Amica Insurance, did claims adjusting for a couple of years, realized that was not the career for me, which is okay.
Hey, my neighbor just had his roof done, and I'm wondering, like, maybe if I needed mine done, do you think
I probably know some good contractors still. And, I don't regret it. A lot of it taught me things that are still relevant to my career today. So I'm grateful for all of it. It got me to where I am today. But I say, don't throw out your old experience. It's never irrelevant if you've thrown yourself into it.
You have an event coming up, a web development and data science class coming.
We do, yes.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that event. Where is it? Why? What are we doing? How are we helping? All that good stuff.
Yeah, so we have some upcoming web development classes. We also offer a ton of free workshops. So if you're sitting out there and you're thinking, I don't know if I'm any good at coding or data science, and I don't know where to start, go to our website, visit our LinkedIn page. We're always doing free workshops where our instructors take time on the weekends and the evenings, and they offer up a completely free class so that you can get a taste for what is this instructor like, what is the material. You can get an overview of data science or web development and get a sense for what all of that actually is and if it might be a viable career change for you. So definitely encourage you to check those out. And those are across locations, the San Antonio and Dallas campuses. So we're fully remote right now, so that opens up a lot of possibilities. We've got students currently all over Texas who are joining us, which is really fantastic.
If you guys, I want to say something. You guys, if you have a hidden affinity for that kind of stuff, you might want to examine that a little bit. We got Caitlin right here with us. Give her a call. Talk to her a little bit. See if you can, bring up some of these things. I was a technical recruiter when I first started recruiting. Caitlin, of course, that was probably back in, I don't know, way
back in the day. Real quick, also, I want to know a little bit about your career counseling business. You
Yeah.
do that as well, because you know your stuff, man. I'm going to tell you, I'm put this book away because I don't need it. You tell me about that business.
Yeah, so I used to work for another coding boot camp. Unfortunately, it's now defunct, but it was called the Iron Yard. So after I left technical recruiting, I went to work for the Iron Yard. I did that for about 2 years. I was running their campus in Dallas as well, built out their employer partner network, ran all of their professional development initiatives. And it was during that time I started to get many more people coming to me, oh, my brother needs help writing a resume. Oh, my girlfriend needs help finding a job. And I started spending all my free time on the weekends writing resumes for people and doing it for free. And my husband finally was like, how do you start charging people money for this? And I was like, well, I'm just trying to be nice. And I love helping people. And it's so nice when you see somebody land a job after you've helped them with a resume. And he was like, yeah, but we're like outside the normal friends and family network. Now we've got like coworkers, spouses, and all these other people. So he finally inspired me, and he had started his own business the year before. And so he said, you really need to go create an LLC and actually go into business doing this. And so it was terrifying. I had no idea what I was doing, but he helped me get that together. So now I do some resume writing. My favorite thing is the coaching. So I've worked with a lot of young professionals. It's kind of my specialty. So I'm definitely in the tech space, but I love working with young developers and designers. And by young, I just mean young in their career in that thing.
Yeah.
And helping them get their worth, right? Because finding the right salary and getting your value when you first start can make a huge difference in your career moving forward. And so that's probably my most favorite thing. So I've really been loving that. But yeah, I do that on the side. Codeup keeps me busy pretty much full time.
Codeup, we appreciate you. We love you. Caitlin, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for listening to the Who You Know Show podcast. My name is Trevor Houston, and if you've enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing wherever you listen and leave us a positive review to help us keep the mics on in the studio. Until next week, that's the show. It's all about Who You Know.